The knock wasn't loud, just 3 polite taps on the door, but my blood chilled anyway. Not because I was scared, but because I already knew she never knocked unless she needed something. And this time she'd brought a letter. A letter I wasn't supposed to see. 1 week later, I stood in a courtroom, her voice smug, hand raised high with that same folded paper gripped like a dagger. She smiled as if it was already over. But the judge hadn't spoken yet, and I hadn't played my hand. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Bernard. I'm 74 years old, and this is what really happened. It started with a phone call I never got, a voicemail I was never supposed to hear, and a decision that pulled the ground out from under me. 3 days before the hearing, I had been organizing old files in the sunroom. The TV was off. The clock ticked quietly. A cup of chamomile sat cooling by the windowsill. Then came the buzz from the phone. Not mine. It was hers, my daughter's, left charging on the kitchen counter after her last visit. I don't know why I checked it. I never did before. But that day, something told me to look. Maybe it was the silence that pressed too hard. Maybe it was the strange way she'd hug me goodbye, stiff, eyes not meeting mine. I tapped the screen. There it was. One voicemail, unplugged from a number I didn't know. I pressed play. Don't forget to bring the letter, Elise. That's the only thing keeping the house in your name. Once the judge sees what he signed, he's done. You've got this.
A man's voice. Young, fast-talking, confident.
But not confident enough to avoid the mistake he just made. I sat down, hard. The phone almost slipped from my hand. She was going to use my own signature against me. Only I hadn't signed anything. Not recently. Not for her. 2 days before court, I called an old friend, Jacob Browning, clerk of records. We served together when I was on the city council. Bernard? He asked, surprised. You all right? Not quite, I said, but I need a favor. Quiet. Quick. There was a pause. Then, how deep is this? I looked out the window. The sun was bleeding behind the cypress trees, deep enough that my daughter thinks I'm too old to remember what's mine. Another pause. Then just, I'm listening. By morning, we had a plan. I dictated a letter. Not long, but precise. Jacob had it notarized, filed, stamped with the case number and judge's initials, then quietly placed in the record folder where hers should have been. Now, courtroom. Gavel struck. Sharp, cold, final. My throat tightened, not with fear, with fury. A quiet one. The kind that doesn't scream, just waits. Elise stood. Blouse too crisp, hair too styled. In her hand, the letter. She unfolded it with theatrical care, then turned to the room. This, she said, voice sweet with venom, is the letter my father signed, giving me full rights to the estate, dated last April. She glanced at me, smirked. I didn't want to do this. But he's forgotten. He forgets a lot lately. The gallery murmured. I caught the judge's eyebrows lift, but I stayed still. She wasn't done. Elise, the judge said, please submit the letter into evidence. She stepped forward, heels tapping like gunshots on tile, held the paper out. He took it, then frowned. This, he flipped the page. Miss Harrington, this letter doesn't match the record on file. Not in wording, not in format. What? Her voice cracked. That's impossible. That's the one he signed. No, the judge said, firm. Now, the official letter, the one entered into record 2 days ago, says something very different. I looked up, not at her, at Jacob, who sat in the back. His nod was small, but enough.
I demand the right to clarify.
Elise snapped. The judge handed the document to the bailiff. I will hear you, he said, but you'll need to explain the discrepancy. She stammered, then reached into her bag for something. But the sound came first.
A voice.
A voicemail. Loud, echoing off the courtroom walls. Jacob had queued it up. Don't forget to bring the letter, Elise. Her face blanched. Everyone froze. You can't use that, she shouted. The judge held up a hand. Enough, he said. And the room, the entire courthouse, fell so quiet. You could hear the letter flutter as the bailiff placed it on the bench. She'd waved it like a sword, but it was paper, and paper burns when the truth is hotter than lies. I could still smell her perfume. It was expensive, vanilla base, made with a top note of something sharper like orange peel or pride. She used to hug me when she wore it. But now, standing across from me, Her arms were crossed, her smile gone, and the scent, it stung. The courtroom hadn't adjourned yet. The judge flipped through papers with care, deliberate. Each turn of a page sounded louder than it should have, like judgment made physical. Beside me, my lawyer, Richard Stein, leaned closer. He didn't whisper, didn't need to. Richard never wasted breath on what he could say with silence. Elise messed up, he said plainly. But you know this won't be over here. I know, I murmured. She was pacing now. The letter trap had sprung. The voicemail had played, but she hadn't cracked yet. She wouldn't. Not until the foundation crumbled under her feet. Rewind 5 months. She'd shown up unannounced. Sunday morning, blue sky, wet grass. I was tending the lemon tree out back, pruning dead leaves, when she called out. Dead? She hadn't used that tone in years. Soft, careful, almost affectionate. I turned. She wore a denim jacket, too clean to be hers. Probably her fiancé's. Elise, I said, you're early. For what? I didn't answer. Neither did she. We just stood there a moment, the silence holding more than words ever could. Then she smiled, small like a secret hiding behind her teeth. I wanted to talk about the house, she said. My hands stiffened around the shears. What about it? Well, just when you're ready to transition things, she said lightly. I mean, I know you've always said it'd be part of the legacy. I trimmed a dead stem with a single snip. Elise, I said, voice low, you know my will. The house is to be held in trust. No transfers while I'm living. She blinked. I know, I just thought maybe you'd changed your mind. I didn't reply. She left 5 minutes later. Didn't even take her coffee. And when I checked the mailbox that evening, I found a pre-filled quitclaim deed form, addressed to me with her handwriting in the margins. Just in case. That was the first scent of betrayal. Back in the courtroom, I watched her. No more pacing. She'd frozen beside her counsel, lips tight. Her lawyer whispered something. I could smell his cologne even from a few feet away. Too strong. Like he was trying to cover nerves with musk. The judge cleared his throat. Elise Harrington, he said, we'll take a brief recess. Please be prepared to answer questions regarding the voicemail and the discrepancy in documents. She didn't nod, didn't blink. Her perfume reached me again, but this time it didn't remind me of hugs. It reminded me of rope covered in sugar. Outside, I sat on the courthouse bench, the brick wall behind me still warm from the afternoon sun. Richard stayed standing. I closed my eyes. Then someone sat beside me. Soft shuffle, leather bag, clean cotton scent. Hi, she said. My eyes opened. But Sarah? She smiled. Elise doesn't know I'm here. I nodded slowly. I figured. Sarah was my goddaughter. Elise's childhood friend. They hadn't spoken in years. You kept quiet about the voicemail? I asked. She shrugged. I gave Jacob permission to use it. It was my phone she borrowed. I turned toward her. She used your phone? Sarah nodded. Left it on speaker. I overheard everything. Thought you should know. So I recorded it and gave Jacob a copy. I looked at her. Why? Her smile vanished. Because she used to be good, Mr. Bernard. Until she got greedy. Until she started treating you like a stepping stone instead of a father. She paused. And because you were the only adult who ever treated me like I mattered, the wind shifted. A dry leaf scraped across the pavement. A burst of exhaust from a passing car hit our noses. But under it I could still smell that faint trace of court documents, old paper, ink, and the ghost of dried glue. I don't know how far she was willing to go, I said quietly. Sarah's voice was soft. Farther than you think. When court resumed, Sarah slipped in quietly, took a seat at the back. Elise didn't see her, but I did, and Richard did. We both knew, so the next part wouldn't require shouting. It would require pressure, applied at just the right moment. And that moment was coming. Elise, the judge said, tapping the bench lightly, you may respond to the voicemail entry. She stood. But her voice, it didn't sound like hers anymore. That it was a misunderstanding. That wasn't about this case. The judge frowned. It mentions this exact document. I didn't ask him to say that. Richard stood calmly. Your Honor, permission to present additional witness evidence for character context. Granted, the judge said. And Richard nodded to the back. Sarah stood, and Elise finally saw her. Her perfume turned acrid in my nostrils. Or maybe it was just the fear rising in hers. The betrayal she'd planned had just found its mirror, and now the court would hear both sides of her voice. The courtroom lights had always felt too harsh. Thin panels overhead, flickering faintly, humming in sync with the tension. They cast no shadows, only exposure. The kind of light that made dust look like snow in the air. The kind that made lies sweat. As Sarah walked to the front, I noticed Elise shielding her eyes with her hand, not from brightness, but from truth. She knew what was coming, and for the first time she wasn't ready. Sarah took the stand with quiet grace. She wore simple black, no makeup, no jewelry, no theater. The court clerk swore her in. Her voice didn't waver. Your name? Sarah Lynn Walters. And your relation to the defendant? I'm his goddaughter, she said, but I'm here because of Elise Harrington. Elise shifted beside her lawyer. The overhead light caught the sharp edge of her cheekbone. Proceed, said the judge. Richard stood. Miss Walters, you stated that Elise borrowed your phone on June 8th. Can you clarify? Sarah nodded. She asked to use it during brunch. Said her battery was dead. I didn't think anything of it until I came back from the restroom and heard her on speaker. She was talking to a man about a letter, about using it in court. Did she mention Mr. Bernard Harrington? Yes, Sarah said. She said he wouldn't know the difference, that he was old enough not to remember. Gasps flickered through the gallery. Elise's lawyer leaned in, whispered furiously.
Elise didn't respond.
Richard moved closer to the bench.
And what did you do with this information?
Sarah looked at me. I recorded what I could. Then I contacted Mr. Browning, the court clerk. He said he could help preserve the truth quietly, so I gave him the file. Richard turned to the judge. Your Honor, the defense has attempted to submit an altered letter. We now have audio testimony and a witness. But there is more. The judge raised an eyebrow. Go on. Richard reached into his case file. For Mr. Harrington's concerns after the incident, we filed an emergency estate preservation motion under Code 12C. We also submitted an amended living trust to ensure clarity.
He held up a document.
Gold embossed seal, stark black ink on white. The amendment was notarized, filed, and recorded 3 days prior to this hearing with a witness statement attached. He walked forward, laid it on the judge's bench. The paper hit with a whisper, but it echoed in Elise's eyes. Per this amendment, Richard continued, all property Elise Harrington attempted to claim is officially frozen under trustee supervision until full inquiry is resolved. Silence. Then the lights above buzzed, faint, high-pitched. Elise's lawyer tried to speak, but the judge raised a palm. This is serious, he said, and it appears this court was almost used as a vehicle for fraud. He turned to Elise. You will remain seated. You will not speak unless spoken to. Her eyes glittered not with tears, with the reflection of a future she no longer owned. Later, outside, Richard pulled me aside. Want to hear something odd? He asked. I nodded. The trust? Elise tried to contest it months ago, privately. My jaw clenched. She filed a motion to remove your trustee rights, citing mental fatigue, he added. Didn't go through, no backing, but she tried. The sun was setting behind him. Light poured across the lot, gold and brutal. Every crack in the pavement glowed like a wound. Did Jacob know? He did, Richard said. That's why he moved so fast. Said something didn't smell right. I shook my head. She would have taken everything. He didn't argue. That night, I sat in my old study. Letter in hand, the real one with Jacob's filing number, Sarah's witness line, and my own signature. The ceiling light buzzed above me. Still that old yellow fixture Elise hated. Too warm, she'd say. Too dated. But now, it suited the truth just fine.
I stared at the lamp.
Dust haloed the bulb like a crown. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like prey. I felt like a man who'd finally remembered how to use silence as a sword. In court the next morning, Elise didn't wear perfume. She didn't meet my eyes, and the lights above her flickered just enough to make her squint. We hadn't spoken in private.
I had nothing left to say.
The judge shuffled the stack of papers, then looked up. This court finds the defendant's submitted evidence inadmissible. Furthermore, due to audio corroboration and official record mismatch, a full investigation into document manipulation will commence. Elise's lawyer looked like he aged 10 years in 10 seconds. And until then, the judge added, all estate access is revoked. All assets held in freeze. He signed the order. The pen made no sound, but Elise flinched like it had screamed.
Outside, Sarah joined me again.
I'm sorry it came to this, she said. I exhaled, watched a cloud of breath drift into the morning sunbeams slicing through the trees. So am I said, but sometimes you have to hold the light up, just long enough for the shadows to reveal themselves. And in those fluorescent lit halls of justice, that's exactly what we did. The leather of my chair felt different that morning. Same armrests, same stitching. But it wasn't comfort I felt when I sat down. It was weight, like the burden had finally shifted. From me to her, I traced the edge of my cane oak handle, smooth with time. The ridges were faint, but they'd always been there. Just like the cracks in her stories. Elise Harrington, the judge announced, due to new developments in estate documentation and asset origin, we are initiating temporary fiduciary reassignment. She didn't move. The bailiff handed her a sealed document. She held it like it burned. No tears, no words, but her fingers trembled. I watched the paper crease under her grip, and I realized, for the first time, she understood the texture of consequences. 2 hours earlier, I'd met with the bank. Teller, Mr. Harrington, we have processed the temporary freeze per court order. Do you wish to move forward with the additional directive? I nodded. Yes, I want every transaction reviewed, every account linked to her social, flagged. She typed quickly. That includes the condo she purchased with the secondary trust withdrawal? Yes. A pause. And the vehicle lease? Yes. And the wellness startup investment? My eyes narrowed. That one especially. She clicked, printed, stamped. The paper was warm when I touched it. Notarized ink still drying. Your daughter's access is now fully revoked, the teller said. I didn't smile. I just picked up my cane and walked out. In court, Elise's lawyer tried one last move. We'd like to file for a continuance. The defendant needs time to address the financial discrepancies. Richard stood. No objection to delay, but per current probate and fraud statutes, asset access must remain frozen pending investigation. The judge nodded. So ordered. Elise whispered to her attorney.
I couldn't hear what she said.
But I didn't need to. I could feel her panic now. In the way her nails dug into the folder. In the way her back stiffened as if bracing for a blow that had already landed. Her nails always did that when she was cornered. Weeks passed. She didn't call, didn't write, didn't visit, but the accounts did. Statements arrived. Withdrawals denied. Overdraft alerts. Flags, reversals, rejections. My attorney forwarded the chain. In one, I saw her email a boutique realtor. I'm aware of the situation, I just need a few weeks. It's being handled. But it wasn't, because I wasn't handling it. The law was, and the law doesn't forget notarized seals. One evening I visited the property records office. It was colder than usual. The floor tiles cracked under each step. The clerk, younger man, smiled politely.
Can I help you?
I handed him the certified request. I'd like to confirm the deed status on 48 Crestview Lane. He typed, scanned, blinked. I just changed this morning. Official ownership now transferred to the holding trust. I nodded. Elise Harrington is no longer listed? No, sir. He printed the receipt. I touched the corner, still warm from the machine. Thin paper, but heavier than anything Elise had tried to forge. Back at home, I watched the mail pile up. She'd started forwarding her old letters. Some were invoices. One was a birthday card, unopened. On the front, in her old handwriting, to Dad, for everything you taught me. No date, no return address. Just empty sentiment on cheap cardstock. I touched the edge, then tore it in half without a second thought. Sarah called that night. She tried contacting me, she said. Wanted to know if you'd forgive her. I rubbed my forehead. Did you answer? No, I didn't think it was my place. I hesitated. Tell her this, I said. Tell her I don't hate her. But the house she wanted, she'll never touch it. Not a brick, not a single tile. Sarah exhaled. Got it. I paused. Sarah, thank you. You didn't have to get involved. She replied softly. You were always more of a father to me than she ever knew how to appreciate. The line went quiet. Then she whispered. She lost more than property, Bernard. She lost the only hand that ever reached back. In the morning, I took my time with breakfast. The plate was warm, the fork smooth in my hand. Simple things, clean touches, things Elise always rushed past, chasing bigger, shinier, emptier things. But now, she was locked out from from the accounts, from the legacy, and worst of all, from the version of me she thought was too weak to fight back. The courtroom was packed. Not like before. This time, they didn't come to watch. They came to listen. Family, neighbors, former colleagues, even a reporter from the local paper, notepad balanced on one knee. It was warm in the room. Too many bodies. The air thick with unspoken opinions. But I sat still, front row, my cane resting quietly against my chair. The scent of old pine floor wax mixed with stale perfume, fast food wrappers, courtroom sweat, each breath carried history. But only one voice would rewrite it. Elise Harrington, the judge said, voice firm but not unkind. We've concluded the document investigation. You are entitled to a final statement before disposition. She stood, smoother this time, no theatrics. Her suit was less expensive. Hair pinned, not styled. No heels, just Elise. The version I hadn't seen in 15 years. She stepped forward. A hush fell across the courtroom. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to dim, like they didn't want to interrupt. She didn't look at me. Instead, she looked at the back wall, as if the truth might hurt less if no one's eyes met hers. I made mistakes, she began. Her voice didn't shake, but it didn't rise either. I tried to rush something I wasn't ready for. I wanted control. I thought I deserved it. Murmurs rippled from the side gallery. Elise continued. I forged a letter, lied to the court, used my godfather's phone without consent, tried to take the house before my father was even cold in the ground. She paused. Not dead? I know, but I acted like he already was. Every breath in the room was held, including mine. She turned, looked right at me. Dad, she said, I thought you were slipping. I thought you were too tired to notice, too old to care. And I convinced myself that if I took everything fast enough, I wouldn't have to face what I became. She stepped closer to the bench.
And when I saw the truth, when the letter wasn't mine, when Sarah stood up, when the voicemail played, when the accounts dried up, I blamed everyone but myself.
The judge remained silent.
So did I.
I'm not asking for your forgiveness, she said finally. I know I haven't earned it, but I needed to say this here, out loud,
In front of the same people I tried to deceive. She turned to the gallery. The entire space was silent.
No rustle.
No cough. Just air thick as judgment. Don't look at him like he's cruel, Elise added. He gave me more chances than I deserved. I burned every one of them. Then, she stepped back and sat down. No one clapped. No one whispered. The silence wasn't approval. It was recognition. The judge cleared his throat. This court has concluded that Bernard Harrington's estate was the target of calculated fraud. The documents submitted by the defendant were falsified. The amended trust stands. He looked up. No charges will be pursued at Mr. Harrington's request. However, the court is compelled to note the gravity of the attempted deception. He folded his hands. The defendant is hereby barred from holding any fiduciary or trustee power related to the Harrington estate permanently. A pause. Court adjourned. Gavel. Strike. Done. I stood slowly. My knees groaned, but not from weakness. From years, I walked past Elise. Our eyes met once. Not long, not dramatic, just enough. Then I exited the courtroom. The door clicked shut behind me. And for the first time in a long while, it didn't echo. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. No return address. Just a single line on the card inside. I sold the condo. I'm looking for work. I won't ask for anything else. Just thought you should know. No signature,
I didn't reply.
but I didn't throw it away either. I slid it into a drawer. Next to my birth certificate. Next to the trust papers. Next to the truth. Some things aren't kept for remembering. Some things are kept so you never forget. People ask me if I regret not pressing charges. Not watching her walk out in cuffs. But I don't. Some punishments are louder when they come in silence. She stood in front of everyone and confessed. Tore down her own mask. No gavel could have done more damage than that. One day, I walked past the old lemon tree in the backyard. A single branch, long dead, still hung stubbornly from the trunk.
I reached out.
Felt the brittle bark crack beneath my fingers. Snapped it clean. Sometimes a tree heals better when you stop pretending its rotten parts still belong. If she ever shows up again, I'll listen. But I won't forget. Because revenge, real revenge, isn't about destruction. It's about letting someone live with what they tried to bury you under. If this story struck a chord, hit like, subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments.